Hey, it's Ryan. Thank you for watching. I'm in my new studio today, and I wanted to make a quick video about an old digital camera that I still use. Now, old is obviously used lightly here. It's 11 years old, which in the camera game, people use cameras, I'm sure, that are 100 years old. This is an 11-year-old Leica, the Leica M8. What's interesting about this camera, besides the fact that I still use it in 2017, is that it was Leica's very first digital camera. It was their foray into the digital camera world. Still a great camera. People ask though, is it still worth buying a Leica M8 in 2017? Like a lot of questions in the camera game, this one, not an easy yes or no. It's a matter of what your preference is. I bought this camera not too long ago. I haven't had it since it came out because when it came out it was a fortune, like many Leicas. This is their cheapest though, in the Leica M rangefinder category. It's a really fun camera to use. It's a rangefinder. If you've never used one, and I hadn't before the Leica M8, it truly is a new experience, like people say. The rangefinder focuses differently. It's fully manual. There are no bells and whistles on this camera. The menu is very simple. You can flip down through the menu. You've got a few options, but that's it. You can shoot in RAW and JPEG at the same time. It's a DNG file, the RAW file. And you can set the ISO from the menu as well. Best to keep it low. Some people keep it on auto. I just keep it super low. You set your camera speed on top of the camera. You can set it from bulb to 4 seconds, 2 seconds, all the way up to 8,000th of a second. That's about it. There are no bells and whistles. Even the new rangefinders that Leica's put out that are a fortune, not a lot of bells and whistles. They put video on one of them, I think, the Type 240, if I'm not mistaken, and then got rid of it when the new Leica came out. So sticking to their roots with photography. A lot of people say this camera has its own look. I agree. It has a unique look. A couple of the photos I took looked really nice. The colors are rich. It looks great in black and white. Some people refer to the Leica M8 as the poor man's monochrome because the Leica monochrome, quite expensive, thousands and thousands of dollars, where you can get a Leica M8 for around $1,500 at this point in 2017. Is it worth it? I will tell you on my personal journey. Not too long ago, I made a video about the Fujifilm X100F, a camera I really liked. I liked the optical viewfinder with the hybrid EVF viewfinder. Really made me want to get back into photography. I got out some old 35mm cameras, bought a couple used old 35mm cameras, and was really enjoying the hands-on photography of old. And then that kind of pushed me in the direction of, boy, I'd like to try a Leica. I always wanted to try a rangefinder, and I wanted to try a digital one, and pretty much the only one I could afford, and not even really then, was the Leica M8. It's their cheapest rangefinder, like I said. So I picked one up, and I absolutely love shooting with it. It's just over 10 megapixels on an APS-H size sensor, which is bigger than an APS-C sensor and smaller than full frame, kind of a unique size. It looks really great, and a lot of people say, it's only 10 megapixels. Well, it's still a professional camera, I would say, and you can print quite large. A lot of people have done it. You can look it up on forums. Is it worth it for you? Well, that depends. It's still quite expensive for an 11-year-old camera, but it truly is a unique experience. It has its own look. A lot of people attribute that to the CCD sensor, but I think it's more than just that. It's everything that goes into these hand-built Leicas. They're quite heavy, made of 2 chunks of brass on the bottom and on the top, and just a tank of a camera. They're fun to shoot. You're not going to shoot in low light. You're going to shoot in broad daylight with this camera. I promise you that. The ISO only goes to 2500, and you'd be crazy to crank the ISO on this camera that high. If you're watching this video, you probably know a little bit about the rangefinders, at least how they focus. You look through the viewfinder. It's an optical viewfinder. Then you manually adjust your focus until 2 pictures of what you're looking at line up perfectly. When they're lined up, you're in focus. A very cool focusing system if you've never used it before. And that's about it. Like I said, I leave my ISO set pretty low, maybe right around 160 on this camera, and pretty much never move it from there. Again, got to shoot in pretty bright light. And then on this camera, I can't afford an expensive Leica lens. So I have the moderately affordable Voigtlander Nocton 35 1.4 on this. So you can open the aperture up to 1.4, and then you focus, you're at 35 millimeters, which granted it's on an APS-H sensor. So you do the math for the equivalent focal distance. Takes really nice pictures. The positives, it's a Leica, it's solidly built. Unlike the M9s, which had some sensor issues that had to be replaced, the M8 held up pretty well. Negatives, your ISO is always low. It's fully manual. There's no bells and whistles, no video. You're just straight taking pictures. It's probably the closest a digital camera can really get to a 35 millimeter camera and still be digital. Is it worth it? It's a tool. Is it worth it for you? I'm sure there's photographers that could take beautiful pictures with this, way better than I could. I'm still getting used to it. I love it. I recommend it, sure, but it's not going to be your main camera, I highly doubt. Even if you're just a photographer who doesn't do any video, you're going to want a digital camera, probably that can take much higher ISO and probably everything else as well. As a second camera, if you've got some money to blow or you sold some old gear and you really want to just enjoy pure experience of taking photos, but still have a digital camera, like I said, this is probably the one. It's thoroughly enjoyable, but not going to be your main body. I dare say that. That's all I have to say about this camera. I'm glad I bought it. I think you would enjoy it. I think it's worth trying one at least. Borrow one, rent one, see what you think. A truly unique experience from Leica, even in 2017. That is my take on this camera. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see ya.